A 700-foot bridge doesn't scream when it dies. It just cracks, and drops in 30 seconds. Tonight, you'll see how 18 low-cost drones flew nap of the earth along the Oskil River, punched one pier with concrete-penetrating warheads, and turned Russia's eastern lifeline into a dead end. We'll break down why Ukraine hit the pier first, not the yard, how that single choice forced Russia off rail and onto risky roads for weeks, and why layered defenses, Pantsir, radar, jammers, couldn't stop it. If you care about what wins modern wars, this is the playbook. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. If you had one shot, yard or bridge, what would you hit to paralyze an army for weeks? Comment your choice below. The question sounds simple, but the planners had to live with the fallout. One path promised headlines: light the yard, stack flames, turn night into day. The other path cut the artery at its narrowest point, the central load-bearing pier that carried the whole span whether trains rolled or not. On paper, the yard gleamed like an easy win. Tank cars, ammo crates, grease, and timber. One spark and it feeds itself. But those grounds bristled with sensors and short-range guns. Pantsir S-1 teams watched the sky. Long-range radar fed a screen of alerts. Jammers hunted control links. You could throw a wave at that box and get a light show, or you could make the box irrelevant by severing what it served. The bridge did not look kinder. Peak hour meant rolling mass, crews on alert, eyes up. Still, the pier offered leverage. 1 point. Total effect. A 700-foot span rests on a handful of supports. Not dozens. A few. Rails push weight into the deck drives it into beams, and the beams hand it down to piers. Those piers don't share load politely. When a train hits a curve or a joint, the forces jump, bend in the girders, shear in the joints, torsion through the bearings. The central pier eats the worst of it because it sits where moments are highest. If that pier softens, the deck sags, bearings slip, and the load tries to sprint to the next support. It can't keep up. Concrete-penetrating warheads aren't built to make big holes. They shape and time their blast to punch deep, wreck rebar cages, and shatter the core where compressive strength lives. You don't need to scrape a pier to rubble. You need to break the skeleton inside it. Do that, and the structure still looks whole for a beat, but the math has flipped. Under dynamic rail load, axle rhythm, sway, and braking, the breach grows. Microcracks link up. Bearings misalign. The deck starts to hunt for a path that no longer exists. Think of a zipper. One tooth at the load point rips free and the whole line opens under tension. That is how a span loses integrity. Not with one loud bang, but with a sequence. Stiff becomes soft, soft becomes failure, and failure races across steel and concrete faster than crews can react. River crossings multiply logistics value because they compress options. A bridge doesn't just move freight. It shortens time, saves fuel, and keeps convoys off roads that drift under surveillance. Break that crossing and you force detours to weaker bridges, longer loops, and choke points where traffic stacks. Every extra mile burns diesel and exposes steel to eyes in the sky. Delays ripple to depots, field kitchens, and gun lines. So the drones don't go for fireworks. They go for silence first. Low altitude. Fog. 3 strikes into the same pier. Each hit drives deeper than the last, using the prior crater as a guide. The first wave finishes before most screens promote the threat. The span tries to hold. Then it doesn't. In about half a minute, the pier gives up, the deck folds, and a live rail net turns into a dead end. Trains halt. Schedules freeze. Crews step out and stare at a gap that won't be patched with a crane and a prayer. With the throat cut, the yard loses its shield. It stops being a fortress and becomes fuel. Now the swarm pivots. Rails guide them in. The next targets wait unguarded by purpose, only by habit. How do slow, cheap airframes slip past a radar umbrella built to kill cruise missiles? You start low. You stay quiet. You make the defenders guess wrong. The swarm steps off under fog, riding 20 to 30 feet above the Oskil. Water takes radar energy and throws it back as noise. Banks cut line of sight. Every bend buys seconds. Every read line blurs the return. At that height, the Earth itself helps, because radars see in straight lines and the river isn't straight. Early pings pop on screens. Someone calls a fast mover that never arrives. Eyes swing high. Crews rack optics toward the horizon. That's the gap. Pantsir teams train for speed, altitude, and clean radar tracks. They do not expect slow, small, and silent riding a river seam. Not at that hour. Not through fog. Rolls split by design. Beaver frames carry concrete penetrators for the pier, shaped charges that trade blast for depth. Scythe drones trail with a mixed load, incendiary and high explosive staged for fuel lines, ammo stacks, and tank cars. One cut. Then fire. Then fragmentation chasing sparks. It's a plan that treats airframes like tools in a kit, not one size fits all. Nap of the Earth flight is simple in theory, hard in execution. You hug terrain to erase radar line of sight, and what's left is clutter, waves, banks, bridges, vegetation, all throwing back returns that drown a small target. Multipath echoes bounce signals in odd angles, smearing tracks and delaying locks. That lag is life. Decoys launch to foul the picture. They hum, they wobble, they show just enough to look like a threat. Infantry lights up the sky. Gunners waste belts on ghosts. Jammers burn power at empty air. Meanwhile the real strike hugs the water, advancing 10 feet inside the noise. You don't beat sensors head-on. You drown them in doubt. Electronic warfare isn't a button that says, jam. It's a choice engine. You feed the enemy bad options until they pick one under time pressure. Wrong sector. Wrong altitude. Wrong volume of fire. Even a 1-minute misread means the first wave crosses the kill line untouched. At the bridge, 3 drones commit to the same pier. One after the other, through the same wound. The crater becomes a guide. The rebar cage breaks, the core loses strength, and the span's math flips from safety to failure. The deck holds for a beat. Then it folds. The rail net turns into a wall, and every schedule that leaned on that crossing dies on contact. But the operation isn't done. The second wave rides the rails like a road map. They slip past idle switches and break into the yard. Fuel lines vent. Ammo cooks. Tank cars flash. Incendiaries make the heat stick. High explosive rips through stacks and throws debris into more fires. Each blast feeds the next, because that's how yards are built, dense, useful, and fragile when struck in sequence. With the bridge gone, the yard's loss becomes more than fire. Trucks must haul the load. Longer loops eat diesel. More crews on the road mean more chances to get cut or watched. Air and ground ISR see farther than tires roll. Every hour that metal cools in the yard, pressure rises on routes that weren't meant to carry it. The takeaway is not mass. It's timing on terrain. The river masks. The fog slows decision loops. The split payloads put the right effect in the right place at the right second. That's how a handful of cheap wings bend a logistic spine without a single fast jet in the sky. Now we step back and look at what that shift means for the fight beyond one river town. Precision beats mass when you strike the joint that holds the system together. One pier down pushes weeks of supply onto exposed roads, where time, fuel, and risk stack fast. That's how a quiet cut forces a loud problem. What would you target first, yard or bridge, if you had one wave and minutes to act? Comment your choice below and subscribe if you want more hard-nosed breakdowns of modern war. What other infrastructure targets do you think are vulnerable in the current conflict? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Small, smart, and silent is rewriting the playbook. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.